Hi, sunshine, and welcome to the Pearl of the Stars through Astrology, where this month we're going into Scorpio season, which is all about death, sex, rebirth, and transformation. Sex sounds like the fun part to it all, until we realize that it is the greatest outlet for transferring emotional information from person to person, and that includes unresolved trauma or repressed emotions and the desires we hide for transforming them or bury them even deeper. When we speak about intimacy and trust, there usually comes a lot of fear around this topic because it triggers our ability to open up to the exposure of our truth. And opening up comes from the fear of losing ourselves or losing control over ourselves in an emotionally close experience, intimacy. By fear of losing, I'm referring to being able to control ourselves in handling painful or uncomfortable resurfacing emotions. For example, being rejected based on our looks or performance, or fear of embarrassment, shame in regards to our bodies, or whether we can control the release. Fear of acceptance for our needs, for our fantasies and desires. There's so many fears that can be triggered once we allow ourselves to open up. But if we allow ourselves to be present with them, then we can also discover our personal power and truth that lives behind them. The thing is, we would not know the value of our being and who we are in truth unless we lose ourselves first. Oftentimes, we only see the true value of something when we let it go or when we lose it. And that's what intimacy triggers in us, to let go of the uncomfortable emotions and feelings that cloud our perceptions of truth. Because true pleasure in being intimate comes with valuing the strength and ability we discover within us by surrendering the fear that in essence prevents us to see the reality and truth. Most often, we find it difficult to surrender and let go on a fully physical level, including the mind, because we hold on too tightly to the feeling of control. Controlling to keep the self we know, a self that many times still holds on to buried emotions and traumatic experiences from the past. So, when we speak about healing, the thing is, healing doesn't happen on its own. Actually, what is healing? Healing is the process of turning triggers into glimmers. So you need a trigger to heal. And where the contradiction comes about healing is that those who seek to heal think that it will happen alone through doing and avoiding the triggers. And the greatest triggers show up when going deeper in an intimate relationship, especially those that quickly develop as a result of sexual chemistry and not love, pose the greatest challenge to be able to safely process the emotions in a trustworthy space. So, when we don't know how to process those emotions and use the information they provide for our own transformation, we get stuck in the trauma, which results in that relationship turning toxic or that dynamic turning toxic. I like this saying, which I heard recently: you got to feel it to heal it. Without interaction, without feeling and integrating those resurfacing emotional triggers, we ain't healing anything. We need to first face our primary source of trigger or fear. We need to awaken the feeling body through different triggering sensations and learn which ones feel comforting and which ones bring out the discomfort in us. We need to become literate to our senses so we can process and transform those experiences. Because many times we overwhelm ourselves with taking responsibility for every other aspect of our life or physical reality, but neglect the foundation on which that physical body and material world lives on, which is the emotional body. Because when our emotional body suffers, it becomes greatly susceptible to viruses, taking in more harmful information from the world and becoming sick. So, the greatest responsibility we first have is in attending to our emotional body because it is what strengthens our immune system to show up for all other aspects of the physical reality. People can be very ignorant about their emotions first and also those of others. The way we're ignorant is by trying to control, to fix, to numb, to distract and minimize, to suppress, or even act out, but not be present with those triggers and discomfort itself. And that harms both ourselves and others, which destroys all possibilities of creating intimacy and trust because we resist and avoid dealing with the emotions and they get stuck in the body. And in the first instance of presence that intimacy calls forth, they get triggered. And those triggers turn into blame rather than opportunities for introspection. The reason we do this because those triggers produce emotions which hold uncomfortable truth that we refuse to see and acknowledge. Truth which when we look into will most likely feel painful to admit to yourself. So we resist it, and the more we resist something, the more it amplifies. The emotional triggers grow on the inside. Wow, the more we surrender to feel and experience them, the more they grow our capacity to transform and heal through them. As our capacity to process the discomforting or chaotic emotions leads to healing. Healing is not a comfortable process. Yet, this is what builds one's emotional intelligence, although I don't like that word and I rather say emotional awareness. So, healing is in our capacity to have awareness of our own emotions. Otherwise, we stay stuck in fear, anxiety, and panic out of inability to trust that we can handle painful experiences because of what they may cause us to feel, or to better put it, emotions that we fear can kill us from the overwhelming sensations they create in the body. Or I would better say, drown us. Because emotions are like the ocean. They're fluid, and once we allow them to move through, they will hit like waves reaching the shores and dissolve the force of impact they have on our body. But when we try to resist them, they pull us in more into the deep waters and drown in our subconscious mind. At the end of the day, all that emotions are, they are a source of information about our truth and feedback to our experience. They guide us to what we need, what and how we feel empowered. They guide us to where we find true peace. The more we respond to our emotions, the more we can respond and interact with the world. The less we respond to our emotions, the more we react and enact them out in the world. And here comes our understanding on what we truly desire. We desire power or self-empowerment. Because when we are ourselves, we stand in our true and highest power. Power based on truth, which is created through intimacy, and the desire for intimacy leads to trust. And this is what we will explore in the workshops this month, where we will look at Scorpio and the eighth house in our birth charts to guide us to the feelings and experiences of empowerment we seek to transform through our intimate relationships. Feelings that carry sensations. So we will focus on what different sensations arise and trigger in us. Know that others, especially those who evoke strong emotional responses in you, are just triggers to what you and your body holds or what it already knows. The truth you need to learn and trust. Trust that you build through the ability and desire to intimately open up and be willing to let go and surrender preconceived thoughts and perceptions about you. So, for the process of transforming those emotions, which need to be addressed to where they may be occurring in your body, we will focus on becoming sensory and sensually literate, or to bring the buried sitting emotions from your subconscious into your conscious awareness, as they're triggered through different sensations. I look forward to seeing you this month. And if you want to schedule individual consultation or inquire about working with me, please visit my website and contact me there. Thank you, and until next time.